Martin Hazel is a director of Simplexity, a company that helps prepare people and organisations to meet the challenges of change and complexity. Using his international experience of change leadership and strategic management, Martin helps to turn strategy into sustainable benefits. He assists organisations in understanding their strengths and building a healthy leadership culture. Martin, how well is Hurrah Airlines dealing with its customer relations?
I don't think they're handling them very well at all. They're not consistent in the way they handle complaints. They are not delivering on the promises they are making in a consistent way. People are paying for allocation of seats. They're not obviously delivering on the things that they're paying for. But above all, they're not managing their customer expectations well, and therefore there's no benchmark to deliver against and to manage customer expectation against. And, it's not a question of being a budget airline or a full-flight airline. It's about making a set of consistent promises to the market and then delivering to them. I find that I get excellent service from some long-haul airlines, that they make a promise and they deliver it. I also find that I get excellent customer service from some of the budget airlines because they make a different promise, but they deliver against it consistently. And for all we say about organizations like Ryanair, at least you know what you're buying and your expectations, and they deliver consistently. So their handling here is that they're not setting clear expectations, and then they're being inconsistent in the way that they manage complaints against that vague promise.
How would you advise Hurrah Airlines to improve its customer relations?
I think there are 4 things that they need to focus on, 3 of which are long-term, and 1 of which is very short-term. If we start with the long-term ones, first and foremost, they need to make sure that their advertising, their sales, their delivery at the airport reinforces a single message of what the promise is. What are they delivering? So they are creating consistent expectations about what they will deliver. I think secondly, they need to think about improving staff training. Being a budget airline is not about having untrained people. It's about having a consistent, effective and efficient delivery of a very simple service. Therefore, they need to train people to deliver that service in a very consistent way. Where we see airlines with turnarounds of, say, 18 minutes from opening the doors to closing the doors, disembarking the passengers, cleaning aircraft, getting passengers on board and ready for pushback. That requires discipline, and that's an important part of that staff training. I think the third point that I'd get them to focus on is the way they handle customer complaints. Because here they need to be consistent. They need to reinforce the messages. They need to accept where they've gone wrong and have clear processes for dealing with failures of service. And they need to be very careful in their pushing back where the customer's expectations are misaligned to the promise. So not sympathizing necessarily with the customer in the way that we heard on the tape, but absolutely saying, I'm sorry, this is the rule. We need to be consistent in what we deliver, and that's how we deliver a cheap service. I think the last thing, which is a short-term thing, is they need to bite the bullet and increase the capacity on their customer service desk. Because while they haven't got that consistency of delivery, while they haven't got that consistency of promise, they're going to continue to suffer high levels of complaint. So they need to be able to respond much better to those levels of complaint. So there needs to be investment now in upscaling that capability to handle complaints in a professional way.
How have customer expectations of airlines changed?
I think one of the interesting things about customer expectations is despite the number of loyalty programs that we see in the airline industry, the propensity of passengers, certainly regular passengers, to switch carrier in the face of bad service or promises not met is increasing. So, on one hand, the airlines are trying to lock you in with loyalty programs. The second, if they're not delivering, they are losing passengers. I fly a lot, and I find that most airlines are getting much better at consistent delivery. They've had to survive. And when I talk to other regular passengers, they have common expectations. And even when things go wrong, you know what's going to happen. Where I think the airlines have a problem is with the occasional passenger, who either expectations are massively exceeded, and we heard Mr. Lopez on the tape with his feedback to customer service. He was a very happy man. And we hear criticisms about excess luggage and so on because the expectations were not clearly set. So this problem and the bad press that the airline industry receives is often from the occasional passenger. And I think this process of managing expectations in what is, after all, a mass transit environment, it is no longer a luxury travel, becomes more important in order to retain customers, to manage their expectations and deliver against them.